That's definitely connected with it as
Like
well.
spiritually
That's a life-changing experience. You don't come back the same, do you?
Yeah, I suppose.
Um, Most of the time when people have those kind of spiritual experiences, if they remembered leaving the body and having, that's an A8 experience. Now the big difference between
Eight.
A8, this is all
Not
Mrityupada.
8-5.
No, A5 is if like you went and when you meet a teacher and maybe you get initiation into a mantra or you started studying something new, some new spirituality. It's not, it's a spiritual event. It's
You
an
have to do
initiation.
A8 or A5?
Well, we're doing A8.
A8.
It's the whole day is A8. We don't have to go too deep into this. Um, But so do you see the difference? I really want to make, because I realized everybody was confused about the A5 and the A8, and to really differentiate those two types of spiritual experience. One is something you do physically, and it's your conscious mind, and you choose to do it. Another one is you don't control when the Kundalini is going to just all of a sudden wake up and change your whole reality forever. It's not something that you can just easily pick. Oh, this is when I want to go over here and have an incredible spiritual experience. Some people go into isolation and pray for years, hoping that they'll have a real spiritual experience in that time that they're locked away. That locked away time isn't A8. It's when they actually have that spiritual experience that's Mrityupada. So we're all clear on that, right? Okay. Because eighth house, on that level, eighth house has to do with Kundalini. And so it's the Kundalini that resides in the base of the body. That when that awakens and moves up, whether it moves up all the way, it doesn't have to be a full Kundalini experience. It's not like there's an on and an off switch. There is a little bit of Kundalini that comes up. There is a little bit more that can come up. It can happen by chance that it all comes up at once, but that's actually not considered a healthy thing. If it all comes up at once, it's possible that you die during the experience. There's people that have all kinds of problems where in the scriptures they talk about, the toes turning black, their organs stop functioning. The Kundalini can kill you, rising if it comes too fast, because growth should be slightly gradual in life. So sometimes the Kundalini just comes a little bit. Sometimes it's bigger jumps. Sometimes it's extremely big, and the person will literally go insane for a number of months while they're going through this Kundalini transformation. And as we'll see later, that month. Has anybody in here had that, or either had that or know somebody that had a spiritual awakening that spiritual awakening was associated with them being crazy for a number of months and just really being far out there, in control of themselves, and before they came back to their self at this new level? So one person. Has anybody else had this experience, knowing anybody like this?
Could I just mention it? When I was still in state director.
2 years or a year and a half?
Is a year and a half going on, or was just about a year and a half?
It was about a year and a half. Why was it a year and a half?
Rahu Ketu.
It's the transit of Rahu Ketu over the Mrityupada. So you can pull up that chart and see whether it was a Ketu or Rahu experience.
I don't have any birthday. I was an astrologer at the time.
But so we see the case. And so some people have it so it lasts that whole period. Some people only a month or two in that period. When other things line up, will it get to be that bad? So the Mrityupada will show the Kundalini experiences that are happening. And as it is that eighth house, it's the near death. I don't want to say near death experience, because near death doesn't have to mean that you die and your heart stops beating. You can sit down and near death can also be that everything that you've lived before you realize is worthless. And that there's something else that you need to live for in life. You get a realization of what's important, and everything else dies. So, looking at the eighth house, here I wrote a little bit about the eighth house is connected to Saturn, Karaka, and Saturn shows suffering. And the big story of the Buddha, before he took renunciation, the Buddha, his father wanted to make sure, because the astrologers saw the chart and they said he was either going to be a great king or he was going to be a great saint. And his father wanted to make sure that he was a great king. So he secluded him, made sure that he had every luxury in the world, that he would see no suffering. He had 64 wives, he had every game, he lived a good life. And does anybody here know what actually triggered him to leave that, to become the Buddha? What was the first thing that he saw?
He left the castle.
But what was the first thing that he saw when he left the castle that triggered? Huh? First he saw a beggar, he saw poverty. What's the next thing?
Illness.
I forget the order, but he saw a corpse. He saw
Corpse was the last thing he saw.
right, a sick person.
He saw a sick person, a sick poor person
Right,
who was begging. He saw
a yogi.
He saw an-
or
yeah.
something.
he saw an old sadhu type, somebody he saw old, he saw death. What do all three of those things have in common when it comes to Karaka? They're all Saturnian. So he saw Saturn. He saw that there was all this suffering and death and illness, and that everything that he was enjoying, he realized that all that was possible for him too, and that he was going to die, that he could get sick. He had an AA experience at that time. He realized Saturn. He realized that life is temporary. And so Saturn is really the trigger for spirituality. Because what is going to make us meditate? What is going to make us take the spiritual path? Unless we have some idea that there's something that, making money isn't what it's all about. That enjoyment isn't what it's all about. So Saturn, that suffering, that lack or illness, Saturn, he reminds us that there's something more to why we're here. And the 8th house and Saturn show us. And they do so often in ways that we don't enjoy. Sometimes it's not too bad, sometimes it's a little bit tougher. The Buddha, luckily, he just saw it and he got the point quickly. And so he left. Some people, they don't get the point quickly, and so Saturn has to get a little stronger and make them suffer a little bit more. So, what else? So religion, if we look at most religions focus on what happens after you die. Where you're going to go when you die. Are you going to go to heaven? Are you going to go to hell? What's going to be your rebirth? It's all about death. So most religions focus around death. So this is just a general overview of what makes us religious and what reminds us to be spiritual. It's 8th house and Saturn. And so that's how the Mrityupada, from a philosophical standpoint, gets to be this point of spiritual experience.